yesterday I was mentoring a designer and I was looking through their portfolio, and the case studies that they had were kind of hard to read, hard to get through, and there was a couple reasons for it. And I want today to show you the advice I gave her and how we worked through it. Um, and I want to kind of compare and contrast something. So I think the camera should still be on me, but the camera is on me now. And then let's look at hers first. So I'm gonna tuck this away for a split second, and then I'm gonna go to this over here, and this will be the screen. So I'm not gonna show it too tightly, but I blurred it on purpose here. But I want you to look at her case study. So what she has is a big, huge image, which is nice up top, and it's some introductory. But then as she goes through kind of each stage of, maybe the situation, the approach they took, and the results, it's all in text. And so it's pretty obvious text. I want to compare this with another person I'm mentoring, and her work so far, which is becoming really nice. And the main differences here. The main differences here are let's look at the readability and the scannability of this. And imagine you're a hiring manager looking at this, and the question is, are they engaged with this? For one, there's a big image here which kind of just sets the tone for almost the industry or the topic at hand, which is, this is, I guess, going to be about cocktails, I guess, just quickly. All I know is that this link is called Neat. It's a cocktail app, I guess. I get here, I quickly start seeing mock-ups. This big text, my eyeball goes here. Oh, I realized very rapidly that I can use this as a navigational tool. I can see these headlines. Okay, so I see the word research. Cool. So there's going to be some research coming up. Oh, look at this, a nice table that I can scan across and I can start to understand. A caption here helps. That's great. I likely will read this caption before I will read anything in this body paragraph here, this body copy. She's done some highlighting of some terms here so that I can kind of see, okay, so this must be competitive analysis. We look across it. Okay, cool. So I'm starting to associate some of the text with the imagery. This is all without me having to read it. So let's consider how important that is. That if I have a bunch of these to look through, and I mean like 10 or 20 a day. Let's say I'm a hiring manager and I'm looking for, maybe my 9 to 9:30 in the morning. I'm going to look through some of the portfolios that have been sent to me. I'm looking through them pretty quickly. So as I look through this, I'm not going to read very, very deeply. Not at first, certainly. What I'm looking for, or what's going to stand out to me, is the person that I'm looking at, are they communicating clearly? And I kind of see color coding. That's quite interesting. And, it makes me see here. I go, okay, so there's some of this affinity map work done, but maybe Caitlin in green. Maybe this is a quote that came out of the Caitlin, whatever column here, and maybe this is that. So I'm starting to see this person, the author of this, if they're communicating clearly, and I'm starting to get the impression they are. Okay, they've gone kind of deep into a persona here. Okay, wow, looks like a lot of work, and I don't know how they got all this, but hey, they've done it. Next thing I start seeing this, more color coding here. What exactly is sitemap? This one is the task flow that's a little bit different than a sitemap. That's helpful for me in case I was confused between which one was which. Captions go a long way. So all that I'm trying to say right here is that this type of work is a lot smoother to move through. And the way it's laid out is so important because of how much time I'm going to spend looking at this. What I'm gathering from this, right, is this person able to communicate? Look here, this is something I noticed. She chops these mock-ups in half. Kind of cool because she's drawing me, she's holding my hand and saying, this is where I want you to look. I don't want you to look at the lower half and get confused with maybe you think I designed the navigation bar and that's what I'm showing you. I'm showing you just this. Okay, fair enough. Thanks for doing that. Okay, we got a before and after. Okay, so there's some changes. Great, right? So the problem is the hiring manager or the viewer or whoever the audience is that is going to see your portfolio, are they going to remain engaged? This is starting to look nice enough, colorful enough, segmented, different styles of communicating, like different mediums of communicating information, like tables versus charts versus line, these bar graphs, these kind of things, versus what over here was I have to do all the work as the viewer to read, and I have to pull out the important parts, and I have to determine what's important. If you stacked up a bunch of these comparatively, it gets very challenging for me, the viewer, to do that. So the question is another question could be, how are we going to tie these really, really important headlines, which is what I'm going to read, to imagery or to the proof, so that I don't have to read all of the copy here, right? If you said 9 different apps, if you could show me a table of 9 by 9 or something, that hits a lot harder. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? It hits a lot harder than me finding this one little word that tells me that information. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Let's see here. Oh yeah. And the real thing that I think that you're doing with this is you're communicating trustworthiness. Did you do the work? Have you done the work? Can you communicate that work clearly enough? Do I trust you? I think really what we're getting to a lot of this stuff is, do I trust this person? That sounds a little cliche, but show me, right? Show me. That's mostly what people are asking for. Hiring managers are asking for is show me the work, show me good work, and then the good work is defined as like essentially, maybe like work that's been proven. Let me keep moving. Yeah. Cool. Okay. I got some notes here. Sorry. I just tried to take some bullets here. So when I was working with this person here on the left, the question was trying to work with them was, how would we lay this out first and foremost? And so the approach that I was going to share with her and did share with her is one where we used a LoFi approach. This is kind of how I work. I draw things out almost as if it's a movie or it's a scene by scene, or I want to take, I want to hold the audience's hand and say this, and then I want you to look at this, and I want you to look at this. And so a tool like tldraw, which is something I really enjoy, is great for this. So I'm going to next draw out a fake case study, just so that you can imagine as you're working through your case study. You let's say you have all the content, you have all the evidence, and it's in it's in various formats. You've got screenshots of Excel documents. You've got screenshots of people in the lab doing mock interviews or real interviews or whatever. You got all this. You got all these assets. That's great, right? But how do we lay it out, and how do we kind of wrangle this problem from forest in the trees? Like, how do we look at the whole forest? And so I like to see if we can just lay it out from a 30,000 foot or maybe like a 10,000 foot view. So let's go through that. So what I would do first is just using a really lightweight tool like this. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw my website, right? I want the format to be on web because that's the way it goes. And I'm going to just do it real kind of loosely. What's cool about tldraw is it gives you almost just the amount of tools you need at a time, right? So the first thing I might do is I might say, let's put a big image of the final product up top. Great. Okay. Next, I'm going to introduce this. So I'm going to introduce it with some text here, maybe. And this is just helping me get a sense of what this page is going to look like to someone. Next thing, maybe I want to do some quick headlines about the evidence introducing something, and then here's going to be an image of what that thing is. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to do it a couple times. Oftentimes what I do is I use an approach for my case studies. I'm going to call it notes here, but maybe the situation, the task, at hand, the approach I took. I'm not going to get into all the storytelling nature of all this stuff really, and the results. So maybe there's 4 stops on my journey I want them to get to, right? And I'm trying to see here, how will someone come and move through this case study? Let's say it's my website. So I know that I'm going to have my navigation items up here. It's going to start looking like this. Okay, cool. And I'm kind of happy with this so far. What's cool about a level like, a level of focus like this is that you're able to choose your contrasts as well. So where do you want their eyeball to be? I want their eyeball to mostly be on, so what is supporting and what is strongest, right? So I'm happy with this here. The next thing I like to consider is, I can do this in Figma as well, but don't discount that your audience, what format they're looking at it in. What hiring managers kind of, and a lot of people use MacBooks. MacBooks rule the world. Consider how much they can see on a MacBook as they're looking at this stuff. Do you want it to be stacked on top of each other? Do you want paragraphs to run between multiple screens? Do you want it to be all text? I don't think you do. So what I like to do is kind of just imagine it, and I think, what am I trying to get to communicate? What am I trying to communicate on this stop on my journey, on this screen? So maybe I need to just to feel better about it. Maybe I kind of want to space stuff out a little bit more. Okay, I mean, it's not really about spacing. It's more about let them focus on one thing at a time as they're looking at it. So I'm getting just a general sense of what this is gonna be like. Next thing here is, why go LoFi? I want to kind of zoom out and say, why do we even go LoFi? I have 2 examples here, which are in, where'd you go? Sorry. In school, we practiced painting, right? In painting, you do these studies, these like really tiny ones. There's a really, really great quote here I'm going to save for us, which is, let's just read it. By working small and quick on basic shapes, values, compositions, cropping, and editing, what to keep and what to remove, you're making decisions to preserve the best parts of a scene before you even start. Okay, that's great. Leave mistakes in your sketchbook. That's also a great quote. So if it looks good at this size, basically, this is kind of how it boils down. If you're happy and confident with it at this size, and if it's clear and understand what the user is, what the viewer is looking at, then it's going to work great at a larger size too. So you can just kind of gain confidence. The cool also thing too that I want to kind of continually mention, I suppose, here, is that you're not going to get stuck with being too indebted to all the work you've done if you're just working in this fidelity. What you're able to do is say, you know what, I'm going to need 2 images here. You know what, I'm going to need to go maybe I need to just do a stack by stack here, because at the approach we did 2 approaches, or two competing tests, maybe, let's say, and we had an A test and a B test, or an A team and a B team did this. So this helps you do the other part, which is not do the other part. How should I say that? I should say that like, I have never done this before. I apologize. This is kind of silly. It lets you, I'll just go like this. Boop. You've heard the term kill your darlings, right? You don't get married to what you're making. You're able to just be really scrappy. As you're also looking at filling in the content here, think about how much content you have, and then that will also help you work with your MacBook if it's gonna fit well, right? With how it's gonna look. What's also important is all your case studies, all pages that are similar, basically on a site. Think of it like a book. Chapter 1 of your book should be very similar, maybe the exact same, honestly, structurally, as chapter 2. Your homepage is one thing. A table of contents of your novel, right, is another thing. And then chapter 1 through chapter 12 are all structured the same way. So get comfortable, basically, with a style like this. What you could do next is you could even brand each one of your case studies to match the make it more contextual. Maybe this here was red. Maybe this was your Netflix case study, and blue is your Facebook case study. So now you're kind of, oh yeah, if someone sees the blue one, they know where they are, right? As they're scrolling up and down, they're more familiar. Maybe these ought to be blue, something like that. Now you're kind of getting more comfortable. If they're blue, then these guys need to be red, right? Because we're always intentional with everything we do. You want users to expect. You want things that they click on to behave in the the expected way. So what is this? What is this one, right? This is another case study, and this one is I don't know, Spotify desktop story. And it's very similar, right? So it feels like a case study. That's the point there. You can then zoom in on one of these blocks and make maybe multiple versions. Maybe you've got a title that just says, we can just do it right here, right? We can just say introduction. Maybe you make this a little tiny thing, make him blue. And then the introduction, let's call this the actual headline. The real headline is how I saved my company $50. That's the real headline. This is more like what we might call an eyebrow or something like that. So that I kind of know what type of headline this is or what type of section this is. Think about that too. You know, the next one could be, or the last one, let's say the last one would be results, and then your big headline was actually after saving 50, we ended up losing 500. Oops. Either way, it's all part of the story. Okay. The other thing I wanted to share here about the about the Picasso thing was, not Picasso, this guy. Boiling it down and using LoFi. Why LoFi is helpful. Boiling it down to its essence. You know, this is kind of a famous Apple thing. Steve Jobs was all about this thing. The essence of the bull here is not lost at any fidelity. In fact, it's equally a bull from left to right. And so the same thing with these. These are equally case studies from fidelity, 100 fidelity to back down to 10 fidelity. Is there anything last I want to see? The last thing I want to see, I guess, is that the goal for you is to, I want to make another note of this. I need to learn how to make these into. I'm sorry. The final goal here is clearly communicate that you're a clear communicator. That's what you're trying to do, so that they'll bring you in for a interview. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Using LoFi to mock up how you want your case study to look. Don't get married to it. Keep it loose. Keep moving. Think about others' perspective on how they're going to view it. Think about how their eyeball is going to move throughout it. Maybe make a final note right here, which is final work. Make it big, beautiful, and attractive, right? Tell me why we're here. Tell me why you want me to look at this. tell me the whole reason why you attacked this problem, why the company spent money on it. Guide me through it, move me through it quickly, build my trust that you know what you're talking about, and encourage me to call you up and get you an interview. All right, thanks.